Hello and Merry Christmas, listeners, and welcome back to the second episode of the FullTimePodcast. I'm your host, the very tired Odin Johnson, joined by my probably a bit more awake co-host, Mr. Oren Tully.
Guys, once again, Merry Christmas from me and all Mourinho TV, which is basically just me.
Yeah.
Funny enough.
Well, guys, I must stress before we start the podcast, I probably already mentioned this in the beginning, so I probably recorded something to put on before the actual podcast starts, but this episode is being recorded 2 days in advance, so if we get anything wrong and something has happened over the next 2 days, we will not be talking about it in this podcast. But anyways, thanks for all your support on the last episode. We did quite well considering it's the first ever
25
episode.
views!
You laugh at that because you get a lot of views, but to be, no subscribers, I've now 5, solid 5 people watched.
I had like 20 after my first video.
That's good for you.
I just died, by the way.
Oh no, we're not starting this off badly. Ugh. But anyways, no, we're gonna get by that. Okay, you may say you have 20 views, but I don't need to meet John Terry to get views.
I said I had 20 subscribers before.
20 subscribers. I don't need to meet John Terry to get subscribers.
Yeah, why do you think you're not getting any subscribers?
Moving on, getting to this week. Again, we answered a couple of questions last week based off questions that you guys might want to hear. So we're going to kind of continue on with that theme, and maybe since coming near to the end of the year, we're going to go through some of our favourite moments of the year, some of our worst moments of the year, and also some of our favourite players in the year, compiling them into one squad. So we can start on the questions, I presume, for we have a couple of questions set out for favourite things, so I'll go through a few of them and you answer yours and then I'll answer mine. So first question we're going to be talking about this week is going to be, what was your favourite team of 2016?
Jeez. Most people think Leicester City, because the way they won the league was incredible against all the odds, beating the likes of Arsenal and Spuds to the league. But my favourite team has to be Iceland, as in Iceland were the smallest nation ever to qualify for a major tournament, not let alone a European Championship. And I think at one stage, 8% of their population was in France? Yes, 8% of their population were in France. That's unbelievable. And they brought such an atmosphere to the place, like a lot of the smaller teams did. And of course, the Who became famous with the Iceland fans. And of course, they got some famous results against England, Portugal, Hungary, and their first win in the Euros major, or like I said, even in a major competition against Austria, beating them 2-1. And I think it was literally the last middle of the game. And where you heard that mad commentator screaming off his nut, and then he kind of, had to calm himself down, be really professional. But of course, that was, I think from personally being at the Euro, there has to be that, because it's just an amazing thing someone can do. Because I know Leicester, yes, of course they won the league out of 5,000 to 1, but the difference with the national team is you have to stick with these players. If something wasn't working at Leicester, they could just, ship them off and bring in someone else. But with Iceland, with national teams even, not just Iceland, you're just stuck with what you got. Sure, look at England. As in, England, touching on England there, always pick players that, should, on paper should be going, people that play for Arsenal, Man United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Spurs. Let's take an example. Jack Wilshere. Never should have been on the squad, never should have been near an airplane, never should have really been near France in general this summer, or a pitch, or ever. And he got onto the squad ahead of Danny Drinkwater, who won the league. Jack Wilshere just won 2 FA Cups, and I'm pretty sure he didn't play a part in most of them.
Well, you are going a bit harsh on Jack Wilshere. Now, I am on the same sort of boat as you. I don't believe he should have gone to the Euros based on, he didn't get enough game time. And that was Roy Hodgson's big thing for not bringing Walcott, was because, he hadn't played enough minutes of football, and Jack Wilshere played far less than him. But I think I could see where they were coming from with it. It was kind of like, oh, he's been good for us in the past, so we'll bring him with us. And he has played quite well for England.
Okay, next England squad should be then Alan Shearer, David Beckham, Frank Lampard,
Do you know what
Steven
I mean?
Gerrard,
Players who are still playing at the moment. You can't obviously just take players out of retirement. You know
sure you can. They did well in the past.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? They've done well in the qualifying stages for England in Euros. Like Jack Wilshere got 2 really good goals. Can't remember who the game was against, but
Slovenia.
Yeah, well, their game, obviously their qualifying campaign wasn't massive, but they had played well. So Roy Hodgson was basically going off that, And I wouldn't be surprised if Rijkaarsen didn't even really look at a lot of the smaller teams, because he tends to pick players that are either from, as you said, the bigger clubs. Like, there was definitely a shout for players like Mark Noble. Antonio definitely should have been picked. There was no doubt about it. Everyone will tell you what.
If Roy Hodgson wasn't watching Danny Drinkwater this last season, then he probably thinks Spurs won the league or Arsenal won the league.
No, but like he did call Danny Drinkwater for a bit for the provisional squad.
Yeah, but provisional squad means jack shit. I guarantee you, when Danny Drinkwater went into that original squad, heard that Roy Hodgson picked Jack Wilshere, who was like,
Well, no, what I'm saying is, like, he only picks players from the big squads. But the reason he picked Danny Drinkwater and Jamie Vardy and the likes of them is because, he had to. Like, it would have been stupid if he hadn't, because they'd done so well in the league. But players like, say, West Ham had a really good season, considering West Ham, you know. And now you can see that they're kind of dropping off a bit now, and they're starting to find their way back gradually. But Mark Noble, Antonio should have definitely been picked for that squad. And I think that's why he wasn't really focusing on the smaller teams. Like, everyone knew about Leicester last year, whether you were from England or not. You knew what Leicester were doing.
I agree with you. I think Antonio should have been in that squad. But to be honest, we're kind of getting a bit sidetracked.
Yeah, we'll go
yeah, I'm going to stick with Iceland as my favourite team, obviously, because of the whole shebang they brought to the Euros, the passion they played with, and I'm pretty sure their goalkeeper, I actually have his name written down here, their goalkeeper's name is Haldorsson, or whatever, and I'm pretty sure he directs films as well, or something like that. Yeah, there you go. You got your chuckle from Ojan there, and that shows you something, you know, that how far our team can go.
Wasn't it like there was something? One of the coaches for the Icelandic team was a dentist or something as
well.
Yeah. So it shows, like, obviously you're going with, you know, the underdogs teams that are obviously the teams that, you know, catch the eye of viewers and always, like, they turn out to be one of the favourite teams of the year. Like, and my favourite team of the year was someone you touched on, was Leicester, because, you know, obviously I feel a bit mainstream saying it now, but, like, as you said before, the way in which they won the league, and, you know, with the players they did it with, like, players like Vardy, you know, fair enough, he had an all-right season for Leicester the year before, but the way he just came out and he broke the record with the most consecutive goals in games. And, you know, Mahrez kind of came out of nowhere as well. He was always kind of a decent player, but, like, he wasn't, like, you know, a world beater like he is now. I think Leicester are still showing signs of champions. I think teams have kind of figured them out a bit more now.
Figuring them out, I don't think that's wrong, really. As in, I think that the form they're in the Premier League is down to the Champions League. As in the Champions League, you see them tearing teams apart, except for Porto, they already got whacked. But Claudio Ranieri played a weakened squad, and it worked when they beat Manchester City 4-2. And on the touch of favourite teams in Leicester, this Leicester squad, I think, you know, are just kind of adjusting back to normal reality without playing those 2 games in a week. And I think they'll start moving themselves up the table again until February comes around, and then by then I think they should be safe, and they can focus on the Champions League.
Yeah, but I also want to touch on, like you said, obviously, the Champions League was the reason for them not getting as many points as the Premier League they should. But, like, even when they were through and they played poor, and obviously they played a weakened side, they did beat Man City. But I think Man City's reason for losing was they opened it up. They suited Leicester's style of play when they played that game, because Leicester are a very counter-attacking team, and Mahrez and Vardy really got the best that they could out of that game. Like, obviously Vardy getting the hat-trick. But then they lost the next week, wasn't it? And, like, to be fair, like, you're saying that the Champions League is one of the big reasons why they weren't doing well, but they don't have the Champions League to worry about now until a couple of more months, like. So I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That's where they're going to get all their points from to stay up. Before we move on, I'm just going to, you know, give a shout out to Albania as well at the Euros. I think no one expected them to do well, and I'm pretty sure they beat Romania in their last game 1-0. It wasn't enough to qualify, but a huge credit to them. That's why I think it was so magical with the Euros this summer. People were bashing about, like, 2014 is going to just turn the whole team into a shack fest or whatever, or whatever you want to call it. But I think it made the tournament more. I think it made the tournament more multicultural, more European wide, because you got the likes of Albania and Iceland who really never would have thought about even qualifying if it wasn't for this major 2014 adjustment. Because if you take it back to 2014. Back then, they knew 2014 was going to be in it, so they're like, you know what, this is their best chance ever to qualify, and they took it by the scruff of their neck, and they did it. I think that's why those little teams should get credit.
Yeah. They got, like, obviously you said that the chance that a third team was able to go through was a big opportunity for some of the small teams to get through, obviously. So, you know, we saw the likes of Ireland getting in there as well. So I think without the third place, we wouldn't have gotten in there. So obviously it was great for some of the smaller teams to go through, and it made a bit more competition for the bigger teams as well. It kept it interesting, as you saw, like, Portugal won the Euros, and, like, obviously they're not a small team, but they wouldn't have been in your, I say, top 5 favourites to win the Euros. So it obviously showed, this is making it a bit more enjoyable for the neutral football fan to see, you don't see the likes of Germany, France, Spain winning it. You see, smaller teams like Portugal and that coming in and, winning the Euros. Well, after that point, we have, obviously, the other way we can look at it is the most hated team of 2016 in your view.
I'm just going to go straight and say Spurs. They are every year. Any
reason to pick Spurs or just
Spurs every year? Spurs would be if Spurs are the only team in the world and everyone supported Spurs, I still hate Spurs.
But is there any reason in general that you hated Spurs more this year than the year before?
Because they were not just because they were doing well. When they were doing well, they were like Spurs fans got more arrogant. The club had more arrogancy about them when they didn't deserve it. And I'm touching on this arrogancy thing again. But Spurs are this club that think they're greater than they are. Spurs last year, they thought they were going to win they looked at their chance and went like, you know what, we can win this. It wasn't they thought they could win it. They bottled it in the end as usual. But just there's always that team that just aggravates you in the back of your mind, and every time you see the crest, the colour, or hear the name of the player, you're like, Jesus Christ, not you again. But Spurs made the league interesting for a bit, as in with the whole Harry Kane, he's one of our own, and I think he's just another overrated Englishman. And I think the reason why I hated Spurs so much is because this was a year they could have proved their potential, potential quotations, and didn't. They let it slip away. Stamford Bridge. They lost 5-1 to second Newcastle the last day of the season, and Arsenal second. As in, who in the world finishes third in a 2-horse race? I can honestly say I've never heard of a team who would finish third in a 2-horse race. If it was a final, if Tottenham were in a final, they'd finish third. That was just typical Tottenham.
Yeah. Well, I think in general, I think we're going to have to dedicate some time in an episode next where we just talk about the England team and about how most of their players are so overrated. Because I think me and you are on the same wavelength about how players are overrated in general. And Spurs obviously have a lot of English players. I think that's maybe why they were hyped up so much. But
I do, but no, don't hear me. People are watching. I'm not an England basher. As in, I do like to banter around and stuff like that. Yeah. But they actually do have some decent players. Like Joe Hart, I think is a good goalkeeper. Even people just don't give him the credit for it. That England defence wasn't great in the summer. Kyle Walker's a good player. Rooney's a good player. Dyer, who plays for Spurs, is a good player. Sturridge, when he's on form, when he's not injured and on form, he's one of the best strikers in the world.
Yeah, obviously, it is a fact that since we're so accustomed to hearing from the Premier League and everyone in England, expects that these guys are English, they're obviously going to be good. And it is a fact. It's not that these players are just they've had one good season or whatever. It's just that they're English and young that people tend to be these guys could be the best in the world. When obviously there's better players out there, but they're just from different countries, so they don't.
I've mentioned this to Olin quite a few times. John Stones in the summer went for what, 40 or 50 million?
55 million.
55 million to Manchester City. If he was some guy if he was a French guy, if he was Swedish, if he was Nigerian, Japanese, Mongolian, or Colombian, John Stones would have been worth 20 million, 15.
Even if he was from Colombia, I don't think Man City would have even put in a bid for him. But I think Arsene Wenger touched on this at the same time as well when he was talking about Rob Holding, because they were all giving out about him Wenger, you're so scared to make signings or whatever, and he was saying you should be impressed that Rob Holding had a good game when it was this after game. I can't remember who they were playing, but he's you should
Liverpool,
be impressed.
I think. Yeah, he had a decent game actually, even though they lost 4-3.
They were saying basically you should be impressed with Rob Holding. He's a young English talent, but I'm sorry he didn't cost 55 million, which is it's so true, because we expect all the best players to be bought for so much, but some of the best players in the world now were bought for so little at the beginning. You have the likes of when Peter Schmeichel came to Peter Schmeichel, he was bought for so little by Man United.
Andrea Pirlo went to Juve on a free from Milan, and he won 4 Scudetti, I think 2 Coppa Italia, made a Champions League final appearance.
You can say a lot of players. Even Paul Pogba, when he moved from Man United, Juventus obviously
on a free from Man United to Juve.
Yeah,
and look at the success he had.
Yeah, so in Mahrez as well, he was
600k. I think he bought for
600k, but at the same time, he was the most cheapest player to be bought by a club that won the PFA Player of the Year. So that shows that you don't need to spend a massive amount of money on players for them to be amazing. Let's move on to the next bit then. Speaking of players, we're also going to talk about our favourite and our worst player. So quickly, we'll just get your favourite player to start off with.
My favourite player, probably Wes Hoolahan or Robbie Brady, just because the Euros was just the most magical time of my life, of euphoric and gloriness. I don't think I'll ever feel that way again. Like I said last week, I think it'll be above the birth of my child and when I meet the woman of my life or the man of my life. My most favourite player of the year is Courtois. Courtois demanded relegation clauses in Chelsea players' contract last year. I remember specifically in the Euros, he went into the press conference and started bashing his manager after the Italy game. So the next day the Belgian press decided to get two of them together and he started bashing his players. And then also Courtois was on about Real Madrid wanted to move to Real Madrid. And then this year he started doing well. He's come out and apologised. And I think that's just the attitude of someone who thinks they're bigger than they are. Kind of reminds me of a certain team in North London.
Alright, okay. So I'm not going to really point on that much because I think you've explained everything about it. My favourite player of 2016 has to be N'Golo Kante. You know, one of the players that was extremely underrated with Leicester. Well, not extremely underrated, but he was underrated to the fact that he was kind of in Mahrez and Vardy's shadow when he was at Leicester. But he was really that team that made them tick. And I think it's coming out more evident this year. Even, you could argue, you know, Leicester being found out and all that, like as I said before. But without Kante, they just don't have that drive in midfield. And they've been trying to replace it with the likes of Mendy, who just isn't the exact same player. I think we saw, you could kind of compare him to Everton's, you know, Idriss Gana Gueye. He was one of the...
For real?
Well, no, but like...
For real?
Wait.
Hold on. No. Are you comparing Idriss Gana Gueye for Aston Villa last year to a Premier League winner, N'Golo Kante?
I have my reasons.
You know N'Golo Kante, you know, 20% of the world is covered by sea. The rest, that 90% is covered by N'Golo Kante.
Warren, you need to brush up on your jokes. That's an old one, man.
And
you gotta get some proper ones
I said
in.
90%. That's 110%.
Oh yeah.
That's how good N'Golo Kante is.
You obviously don't do higher level maths then, or do you? But anyways, no, I have my reasons for this, okay? And Idriss Gana Gueye last season, statistically, and I know stats aren't everything, but when you're looking at a player...
I will leave the room.
We looked at stats last week. We looked at stats last week with Ronaldo and Messi, and you were like, yeah, the stats really prove this about Messi. So you can't say that stats don't prove a certain amount. And it is true, because Idriss Gana Gueye had a really good start with Everton this year. And he was statistically... He won the most tackles last season behind N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, but in
the way I'm not comparing him to N'Golo Kante. I'm saying that players in that sort of position.
But how many of those tackles were successful tackles? As in, like, we don't have the stats now, but how many of them helped the team? Did he just put in a little niggle and went out for the other team's throwing? N'Golo Kante dispossessed other teams and set players on the way, and he literally just he was a fortress in front of that defence.
But you could
say Gana Gueye got relegated with the worst Premier League side I've ever seen in my lifetime.
That's the whole thing, though, because Vardy and Mahrez and all the Leicester team were playing so well last year. Idriss Gana Gueye could have been like one of the best players in the world. He still wouldn't have made that team that he was at any better, in my opinion. Bonhor is crap. Jody and Lescott, who I have funnily down as my worst player because I think he's an absolute idiot, but we'll get on to him in a second. The way I was going with it, I wasn't going to compare him to Idriss Gana Gueye. I was literally saying that players in his position tend to get overlooked by the more attacking players. And Kante has shown that, you know, it wasn't just a one-season wonder.
I just say we're on the record. He said, you did say we're going to compare Idriss Gana Gueye.
Yeah, we are going to compare them, but I'm just like comparing them as two players that are in similar positions, okay? But we have proven that Kante isn't just a one-season wonder. He's gone to Chelsea. He's been doing the same thing he's been doing for Leicester last season, and it shows that like he is one of the key parts of a team that makes it tick. And without him, a team can literally go from 100 to 50 in like.
It'll be very interesting to see how they get on against Bournemouth, Chelsea without N'Golo Kante. I'd hope we'd still do well, but he's a massive part of our team, and I just don't know.
Well, looking at that, actually bringing up that game now, it cost us out as well for that, but I still think we have the reinforcements with Batshuayi. He's a good player. We could probably bring someone like Fabregas. He's been playing decent enough for Chelsea as well at the moment.
But Fabregas is no N'Golo Kante. They're different.
Yeah, he's no N'Golo Kante, but I think Matic at the moment is playing so well that he could easily cover that space. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as N'Golo Kante, but you're looking at players. Bournemouth also have to, take out Nate Naka as well because he's on loan from us. So, and he's a big part of their defence. To be fair, he's been very good this season for Bournemouth. So, I don't see us struggling too much against Bournemouth, but I will say that like it's a bit worrying having both of them out of the team.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as I mentioned before, the worst player this year for me has to be Jody and Lescott. what sort of an idiot is he? Like, thinking he's so big for that club, and he was so bad. The only player that I respect, only two players I respect from Aston Villa last season is Idriss Gana Gueye and Micah Richards. Because Micah Richards, despite being pretty bad in defence, at least he cared about the fans. He cared about how the club was doing. And it showed, like, when you went, that team in general was already a lost cause when he got there. You could see as soon as he got in, he was already given the captain's armband. Like, what does that show about the dressing room for Aston Villa? Julian Lescott, absolute idiot, posted a picture of his car on Twitter and said it was an accident because the phone was in his pocket. Who do you think you're fooling? This is 2016. Fans are not idiots.
And I think he came out, I'm pretty sure he came out and said something stupid after that Man United game when they got relegated. I'm just like, I would literally, that whole team was shy. Andre Ayew should have been playing at a better club than Villa, really.
I mean Jordan Ayew.
Jordan Ayew, even because of the predicament they were in. I thought he looked decent at times, but I'm pretty sure he was injured. And this whole sacking and hiring of managers did them no good. Half the players didn't give a shit. No fucks were given by the players. You know, I didn't want to curse in this episode. We have to bring up Aston Villa and Julian Lescott. I was at 2 games last year at Villa Park. Aston Villa played Chelsea and Aston Villa played Newcastle. In the Aston Villa Chelsea game, the players, you could see Aston Villa players didn't give a shit. Chelsea were 4-0 up, and it was a 4-0 victory, and it was some of the worst games I've ever seen. It wasn't great play by Chelsea. Villa were just shite.
Yeah.
Brad Guzan, I don't know how you got him. I'm pretty sure you got him into a Premier League team.
Yeah, Middlesbrough.
You're the greatest con artist in the world, Brad Guzan. Greatest con artist in the world. If Al Pacino was here right now, he'd be giving you a round of applause and asking you what is your secret, because you fooled Middlesbrough pretty well.
Yeah, that entire Aston Villa team just seemed to like completely turn in one season. Like the season before, they reached the FA Cup final, which they lost 4-0, but that was against Arsenal, so you can kind of expect that.
They were still pretty shit though.
They were pretty bad, but like to get there, they showed they could grind out the results with the players they had. Now they obviously sold Fabian Delph and they sold Christian Benteke, which was a bad thing to do in the first place. They shouldn't have sold those two. And like I know Fabian Delph wanted to leave then to go to Man City, but like in my opinion, I would have been trying my best to hold on to those players. And then with the money they got, even though they did get a good pay from them, they spent it on non-Premier League proven talents, which were just, it wasn't good. Because I know we said that players aren't proven and how good they are because they're in the Premier League, but when you're a side that's struggling for relegation, you need to bring in those players that are going to get you the points. Like players like Troy Deeney, Callum Wilson, they're fully Premier League proven players that can score goals.
But they weren't though. Up until last season, no, like most people didn't know about Troy Deeney and Callum Wilson.
Yeah, I know.
You can't say they're fully proven Premier League players.
No, I wasn't like saying like Troy Deeney and Callum Wilson. I'm saying like players like that now that we know. I'm trying to make an example of them now.
Yeah, I know you're trying to make an example of them now, but back then they weren't proven Premier League players. Now they are.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
it was the same with Odiana Gallo. People were like, oh, who's this chap? Who's this chap? Like, well, people who wouldn't usually watch the Championship, which basically most people in Ireland, in England, they probably would. But I was even like, people would see me as a bit of an expert where I am. Just like, people are like, why do you have that piece of crap in your team? I'm just like, trust me. And I'm pretty sure you got 2 goals away at Everton that the first day of the season, which got me some fantasy points. So
yeah, but like, no, what I was trying to say was like, I'm comparing players now that are obviously Premier League proven. Back in the time, you could argue players like Sunderland did great. They were looking for goals, so they brought in a Premier League proven striker from Toronto, Jermaine Defoe. Like that's a brilliant signing for Sunderland, a team that's kind of struggling at the bottom half of the table, and they are starting to pick up now again. And Jermaine Defoe's a big reason of that. I think he's got 9 goals now in the Premier League. Stupid enough how he hasn't gotten an England call up, but as we said, we're not going to talk about that in this episode. But then again, yeah, Jody and Lescott, my worst player of 2016. Okay, so let's get on to our favourite and worst moment of 2016.
My worst moment's a bit emotional for myself. Mourinho going to Man United. It hurts saying it. Every time I see him talk about how much he loves it there, it hurts. Seeing him in the gear, it hurts. Seeing him in the home dugout at Old Trafford, it hurts. The way he was sacked, it hurts. Antonio Conte's our manager now, but Mourinho was the most successful manager in Chelsea's history. I think it was really hard done by. I know we said I'm going to forget the past 3 years when he was his first contract, but I'm pretty sure you'd be the same if you were dumped by your girlfriend after a fight or something drastically worse. Or say, I know you were, like I said, you were with someone for so long, you had a bit of a down spell in your relationship, and they just end it like that. I'd be pretty devastated.
Alright. So, Yeah. All right. Well, what about your favorite moment then? Obviously.
Favorite moment. Wes Hoolahan's goal against Sweden at the Euros, Stade de France. As in the moment I entered that stadium, my God, I felt it was a conjugation of national pride. There was a sea of yellow, a sea of green. It was unbelievable. And then when Wes Hoolahan's half volley hit the back of the net, my God, that place erupted. I think I've never felt a greater feeling in my life.
Yeah, well, like, your favourite moment is very similar to mine, but mine's a bit closer to home. It's when we played Ireland versus Germany in the Aviva. So I think that's a moment that'll stick out in Ireland fans.
Oh, I'll have to correct you again, sir.
What?
That was in 2015.
2015? Oh, well.
Knocking over the chair, by the way, guys.
We're gonna put it in anyways, I don't care. There was no moment that can ever top that in a lifetime for me. Alright? So, I'm gonna talk about it anyways, because, I think it deserves a mention. Okay? Obviously, brilliant ball from Darren Roundoff.
2015.
Yeah. Finds the feet of Shane Long.
2015.
And he puts it in the back of the net against Man.
2015.
You have to remember, though, if that never happened in 2015, there would be no favourite moment for you in 2016. So I'm going to go with what I want here. And last time I checked, I'm the host of this podcast and you're not. So I'm taking over. This is my opinion. We're going with Ireland, Germany. There's no worse moment for me this year. I just don't know why. I just didn't find anything awful like Chelsea.
Well, what about Bray when they got battered? When they battered Sligo Rovers 4-0?
It's just kind of expected now, isn't it? Really, like Bray just always seem to get a result against Sligo, no matter how bad they are. Like the last time I went to Bray, it was Lash and Rain. I just never gone back to Bray since. Like it's just a waste of time. They don't even have a barrier over the top of their away fans' end, which is
so cold. We were gonna do this earlier, but that's like. That's the worst ground I've ever been to. Yeah, if you're a Bray Wanderers fan listening, I'm sorry, but it is. Every time you go there, even if it's April, even if it's June, it's always cold.
No. Bray fans have it good there. Bray fans get the cover on their side of the pitch. It's kind of like just saying like, oh, this is what it's going to be like, guys, in the match. Just wet, windy. Okay, we're going to give you no barrier. Enjoy it. And it's just kind of like, what, are you trying to get away fans to go to your ground or just not come at all? But like, my dad got sick that day. He didn't go out for a week. He never wanted to go back to Bray ever again.
To be fair, they do have a nice chipper nearby. You can get scampi for like €3. So
chipper, that no chips can keep you warm in that place. No way. Their shop is like a box. It's like
But every League of Ireland's a shop is a shack.
No, but it's not as small as that. That was tiny. That is like I don't know what you call it. Like my room is bigger than it.
It's a shack. That's what you call it.
It's worse than a shack. It's.
But every League of Ireland ground is just a shack. I mean, like the club shop is just a shack.
I know, yeah, but like they're a bit bigger than that. Let's be fair.
They're not, though. They're not.
Anyways, let's not talk about Bray. I don't want to talk about Bray this podcast. Let's get on to the next thing we're gonna ask. The favorite goal of the year. What are you gonna give it to? If
anyone's watching, today is the Today is the Friday 23rd of December. Last night, Friday 22nd of December, Lorenzo Insigne scored an absolute wonder goal against Fiorentina. It's one of the greatest goals I've ever seen, and it was one of the best matches. Finished 3-3. If you haven't seen the highlights, just search it up on YouTube. Best goal of 2016. Just before it ended, my word, what a goal!
And that was to win. That was to draw the match.
Yeah. No, Napoli went 1-0 up.
Oh, they went 1-0 up. Okay. Right, I've got kind of two contenders for this now. It's kind of one for club and one for country, but I'm kind of going to go with the one for club just because it meant more to how the entire year kind of panned out. So the one for club was Hazard's goal against Spurs.
Yes!
That was obviously the one that, I think people get a bit annoyed when they think, oh, Chelsea won them the league, which, they didn't, but that's not what we meant when we said, oh, Hazard's won the league for them. We meant that kind of he's kind of just ensured that they won the league now. So Hazard's goal was obviously amazing. It marked the start of, his bringing back up.
His rise back up to, I wouldn't say the top of the game, but he's getting there.
Yeah, he is starting to look like the player he was maybe 2 years ago. And possibly he looks like he could be even better than that in a couple more years to come, which is good because Chelsea are in need of that player. They missed that Hazard last season and now he's back. So that's great.
And let me guess, your international goal is that one from 2015, is it?
No, it's not actually.
Oh,
it's Robbie Brady's against Italy.
Oh, you're picking one from 2016. That's a high five. Well done.
One that wouldn't have happened if we had scored that goal against Germany.
Yeah.
Oren, do you want to be kicked off? I can easily find a second goal.
Bye.
Okay, bye, Oren.
Bye.
He's back. He's decided to rejoin. He's very sorry.
I'm not sorry.
Yes, you are.
It's just fact. I've had to correct him. I've had to correct him 3 times.
That makes it fun though. People are learning with me.
Learning with you. They're learning that I should be the host.
No, that's not the way it works. No. Alright, okay, so we're going to get by that point. We're going to go back into the stuff we were talking about, more football rather than just arguing all the time on a podcast. I think we did quite well last week, and we hadn't that many arguments, but now it's just kind of getting a bit out of hand. I feel a bit threatened.
I feel threatened by your stupidity.
Oh God, I'm just going to get destroyed now in this. But no, we're going to keep going. Okay, favourite player, young player, that is, we're going to say 21 and under.
Renato Sanchez, he really shone in the Euros. Played a lot of games for Benfica last year when they won the title. I was surprised that, as in, I didn't really know of him, much of him before this season. So he was kind of the standout player for myself. It did help that he was black and had dreadlocks. I'm going to be honest.
But do you think it was a bad decision he moved to Bayern, considering he's not going to get the amount of game time he should?
He may not be getting the amount of game time he should, but he knows he'll get game time because Bayern Munich like to bring in their youth.
Alright, okay.
I think that was a major factor in it, and of course learning from the likes of Arturo Vidal, even players that don't play in his position like Philip Lahm, Iron Robben, Manuel Neuer. Philip Lahm and Manuel Neuer know that club inside out by this stage. So it's a great place to go to develop, and even if he doesn't make his name there, he will definitely make his name somewhere else.
Yeah, because funny that you touched on that, because I was going to mention it, because a couple of young players, even at that time when they did sign Renato Sanchez, they did ship off a load of young players. They had you had Rode going to Borussia Dortmund. You also had the likes of Højbjerg going to Southampton as well. So is it kind of like, do you think he at the moment is thinking like, yes, this is a team I want to play for in the long term run, or is it just place like, I want to get here, get the experience, and then move on to another club?
I see the difference between Højbjerg, who else we mentioned there? Rode, and Renato Sanchez. Renato Sanchez has proven himself on the international stage.
I suppose you're right there, and he has already got a Europa League medal underneath his belt. At the age of 19 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
European Championship medal. Correct you again. I'm sorry.
You know what I mean. Well, what did I say?
You said Europa League, my friend.
Oh, my bad. I'm just kind of trying to think of my next point.
No,
people don't understand this when you're recording all this. You do tend to get your head in a bit of a muffle when you're kind of trying to think of stuff you're going to say.
To be fair, I can do that with my vlog, and I just voice gets muffled by the
yeah, because this is kind of a bit different because you can't edit out everything that you've said. It's more kind of like you're talking for as long as possible, and sometimes when you get into a point, you sometimes forget what you said the time before, so you're kind of just thinking okay,
will my co-host destroy me or not?
Yeah, so I've got to worry about that. I feel under threat on one side, not just from people in the comments who are going to correct me, but just somebody literally there beside me just giving me. Oh, see, this is a good thing. This is why I brought you on though, because if it was just me and someone else, I wouldn't be getting this. This wouldn't be as good as it is, because at least you know stuff about football. So
you're saying you don't know anything about football? No,
I do. I know a bit, but I wouldn't be as you're obviously more knowledgeable about it because if you following it a lot more than I have. Anyways, my young player for this year is somebody I noted last week. I talked about that my favorite player was Buffon. Okay, it's a goalkeeper against Donnarumma. He's been proving himself with AC Milan now, and he's looking like one of the better goalkeepers. He is one of the better goalkeepers in the Serie A at the moment, and he is looking like he could be a very good talent later on to come, because there was a lot of hype around him when he was there last year, and you're kind of thinking is this guy going to be a really good player? Is he going to be a flop? But he has proven everyone that he can make it on that stage. He got called up to the Italy squad.
Donnarumma kind of makes my life feel very insignificant. What is he, 17?
18.
18, yeah. I'll be 18 in May. Yeah. That's how insignificant my life is.
It's just... No, there is younger players, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a 15-year-old played for someone last night, which makes my life even more insignificant.
There was some 14-year-old who started for Galatasaray. I can't remember his name. There was also that 13-year-old who played for the under-20s in Celtic. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he makes my life feel insignificant as well.
Yeah, there's also the likes of Martin Odegaard. He's 17 now. Hachim Mashdor.
Stop making me feel insignificant, please.
Well, it makes me feel even more insignificant because,
You have met John Terry.
Yeah, there we go. My life's just not complete now without meeting John Terry. Trying to sort that out for you. Okay, right. Okay, getting carried away again. We're going to go on to our next thing is most improved player of the year. So someone that maybe they were people didn't really know about them. They were okay at the time. They weren't as great as they are now. They've improved a good bit. Who would you put in that category?
Probably one of the Leicester City players. The likes of Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez. As in, I know they were so together. They believed from day one really that they could win the league.
Yeah, definitely, because that entire team over that entire season just went from like 0 to 10. They just went completely.
They went from 0 to champions.
Yes, well, another way of putting it, but there again, that team in general has been very good. Like mine is again, it's going to be Donnarumma, just because I was focusing more on the younger players. But I see where you're coming from. The entire team in general just outperformed itself last season and
outperformed everyone in the league. I know. Even myself have said at times like Chelsea didn't perform, Liverpool didn't perform, Man City didn't perform, Man United didn't perform, but that should have opened the floodgates for Arsenal and the white team to build a title.
Last question now before we get into our teams of our favourite players and all that. So I want to know your most underachieved player of this season.
Hazard. Not just like not the whole of 2016. I know he didn't really perform, but like towards the back end of 2016. But for a player that Hazard should be like Ballon d'Or contesting player, you have to perform 365. And like the likes of Messi, Ronaldo perform 365. And if that's the level Hazard wants to get to, he has to do it. Yeah.
Alright, my most underachieving player is like, if somebody who was hyped up a lot when he was at Everton, John Stones, obviously. Okay, so there's the one season he had.
Let's go back. Hold on, before to the one of the most improved players. I'm gonna say, let's say Adam Lallana.
Yes, definitely.
If
you ask any Liverpool fan, they'll tell you he's one of their better players. He's one of their most key.
If you ask any fan now, they'll say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was going to get onto that, but he has improved a lot. You can see he reads the game so well. It's not that Lallana's not a quick player. Like he's decent enough at pace, but he's more. I think we mentioned this last week. We said about I can't remember which player it was, but we said he lacked in physical pace that he had in mental pace. So he is an extremely intelligent player, and I know, as we can mention again, Marky Moon was telling me that if you were looking at a player that was going to become a potential manager, and I know this isn't like something we're thinking about now, considering he's only 28, it would be Lallana, because he does have the mind for the game, and he can, he's literally. I think Steve Archibald said that a player up front really dictates what a midfielder has to do. Like, so a striker kind of dictates like where he wants the midfielder to put the ball. All right, so Lallana knows this. Like, Lallana has the ability. He knows where his players are making runs. He knows how to pass them. He's got the ability. He's got the breadth.
Well, if he'd know how to pass them, he'd be a pretty crap player, wouldn't he?
Well, there's some players questionably who can't do that in the Premier League. John Stones, again, getting back to that, considering the amount of back passes that have just failed for him this year. But I'm not a hater of John Stones. The way he was hyped up for 55 million, things that this guy's going to be the next big thing, and he had that one really good season at Everton. We gave him the benefit of the doubt last season that that Everton team wasn't amazing in general, and maybe it wasn't his fault that he underperformed. But this season, he's just shown that, like, even with a bigger club, he's just not performing well, and that defense in general isn't performing well. Considering Claudio Bravo was brought in for 17 million, and they took out Joe Hart because he can't use his feet, which I don't think really cares because a goalkeeper's meant to use their hands.
But you have to think of this, right? At Barcelona last season, his back four was Dani Alves, Jordi Alba, Stuart Piqué, Mascherano.
One of the best back fours in the world. Like,
did he really have a shot to save?
Not particularly. But when
against the bigger teams, yes. But now he does, and
it's showing that like without the massive defense. See, this is where you really see what the great goalkeepers like the David De Gea. Like, Man United's defense has been decent in the last few games. It's been good defense.
Well, the past couple of years, David De Gea has kept them in a lot of games.
Yes, he has definitely been the main point. That's the only reason they've even been challenging for top 4 or Europa League spots in the past few years now, in my opinion. But you're looking at players like, just touching on Man United now, actually, while I'm mentioning their defense, they were linked with Lindelof from Benfica. They were linked to him, and I was kind of thinking to myself, I want to get your opinion on this, because do you think they need him at the moment? The way the players, like, Rojo's playing well, Phil Jones is playing well, Daley Blind can do
I think Phil Jones is crap, to be honest, but he's doing well at the moment.
He has been doing well at the moment. So
I think bringing Lindelof, yes, and then let's see, can Phil Jones keep his place?
But for the price that they're talking about, 38 million, do you think he's worth that?
It's the way football's gone this year, gone lately.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you look back to the summer, Troy Deeney was being linked to a move to Leicester City for £40 million, so anything can really happen.
Igalo was being linked to China for 50.
Well, I think the Chinese league, I think we just tend to leave their sort of like prices aside because they're always overpaid prices. But yeah, my underachieving player this year was John Stones. Okay, so we're going to get into our teams now about which we think like who are our favorite players here. Not necessarily the best, on paper or the best that have played, but our favorite players that we thought, deserve a bit of recognition, and we're gonna put them all to a team. So I'll go through it. Yours. We'll mention our goalkeeper and our back four. So I want to hear, what was your goalkeeper you put in?
Haldursson from the Iceland team. I thought he was. Iceland conceded a lot of goals in the summer, but he made a lot of good saves as well.
Yeah. So I'm going with someone similar as well. Someone I've talked about already on this podcast, and that is Donnarumma. Obviously I mentioned he's the most, in my opinion, one of the most improved young players in the world. He's obviously showing that he can be one of the world's best in the future to come, so that's why I put him in there. Moving on to the back line, I want to know about your full backs, your left and right back.
I've gone for Seamus Coleman, Duffy, Terry. No, sorry, not Terry. I've taken him out and I put in Wes Morgan. And then my left back was kind of a hard one for myself. I've got between Ward and Evra. I'd probably just pick Stephen Ward. Oh, I don't know. I think I might just have to give Evra the left back spot, but because he made it to the European Championship final.
Yeah.
He won Serie A, won the Coppa Italia, and he's still at the top. He's been playing at the top level for years and years, and at his age, still going.
That's extreme impressive, actually, because it's like you can look at Patrice Evra and think there are better left backs out there, but the stuff that he's done, obviously, that you mentioned, like he's been playing at the top level, obviously Man United,
but he's a stalwart. He's there. He can go up the field and he can defend. He's not like one of the new young fullbacks that just think about attacking. He comes back and defends as well.
Because he's 35 at the moment, okay? And if you were thinking, like, if you were a young winger now coming up against 35-year-old, like, oh, this is grand, I'll have him for pace. Ever shows that he's able to handle the pace of like these younger players. Again, with the mental ability, he is an amazing left back, and I think he gets very underrated through the likes of Marcelo and all that. So that was a good point as well. And Stephen Ward is obviously very good for Ireland in the Euros as well. So my back four, players that kind of don't really get enough recognition. It wasn't that they did anything amazing during the year, but I'm gonna go. My right back is Florenzi, someone who's really come up with the ranks at Roma. He was kind of unheard of a bit before the likes of Maicon, who was kind of starting that position. Florenzi's really flourished there. He's become one of their best players in my opinion. I think without a good solid fullback, you don't have a good structure to your team, because like you can have all the players in the middle that you want that are really creative and defensively minded, but mainly the way the football's going now is players attack down the wing. They use the width, and to have a good, quick and solid right back and left back is crucial to any given team. On the other side then, the left back, someone who was statistically proven, and I know stats aren't the biggest thing, but when the year Atletico Madrid won the league, Felipe Luis was one of the main factors to that. He was a really good solid left back, and he got that move to Chelsea. Obviously didn't play a lot of games, and then they just seemed to concede a lot more goals at Atletico Madrid when Felipe Luis wasn't there. He's back now, and I saw him play when he was playing against Alaves, and at the time he wasn't really in my sort of like book for he's my favourite left back. I definitely pick him. It would have probably been Alaba or Marcelo, but looking at Felipe Luis, he's so well rounded.
Alaba doesn't really get a lot of mentions.
Alaba doesn't. That's the thing, because
Marcelo usually gets in ahead of him.
Yeah, people always look at Marcelo because he's obviously playing for Real Madrid. He's playing with a Champions League team.
Yeah, but like Alaba playing for Bayern Munich.
David Alaba is playing for Bayern Munich, but you're looking at, like, when people look at leagues, they look at the Premier League, and then the league's the second one because obviously they've like Ronaldo, Messi, and everything. People don't really tend to pay too much attention to the Bundesliga. And
but Bundesliga has Götze, Aubameyang, Draxler. You have the likes of you did have Højbjerg in there, but like he was kind of I'm just kind of giving you a broader spectrum. You have Ribery, Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah, but these are a lot of players that get mentioned, and they don't really get the things. Like, I think the last few years, I think the only real players that have been mentioned in the Bundesliga in the team of the year have been, like, consistently have been Boateng and Neuer, and that's not really because of their things with Bayern Munich. It's more because of their international, things they've done. So in a way, it's kind of overlooked in a bit. And Felipe Luis, well, actually not Felipe Luis, talking about David Alaba. He at the moment is kind of getting a bit overlooked because
at least you corrected yourself this time,
Yeah, but like as I was going to say, but like David Alaba gets a bit overlooked, because he's a younger player, and Marcel's obviously been playing for a lot more years. He's proven himself a bit more, in my opinion. But I think the way that David Alaba, in my opinion, is better than Marcelo. He's more versatile. He can play in the midfield, he can play in the left midfield, and he can play in the left back position. So he's a very good player, and I think he tends to be overlooked. But in my opinion, I was going to put Felipe Luis left back. His touch is amazing, which is something that you don't really see a lot of left backs doing. Their kind of job is maybe pace it up the pitch, whip it in, and see what you can do, or play it onto the midfield. My two centre back spots, I'm going for Eric Bailly. who had a really good start to the season with Manchester United. Got a bit of an injury, but he's back now and he's playing pretty decent. I didn't know too much about him at Villarreal, but I think he obviously did enough to get to Man United and he's proven himself there. Other centre-back, Nacho Fernandez, Real Madrid player that tends to be lost in the limelight of the likes of Rafael Varane and Sergio Ramos. But he is an exceptional centre-back. He's very young. Well, I say very young. He's 25. It's a young enough player.
Did he play a lot of games last year?
Not an amazing amount now, but he was very good. And I think he scored some unbelievable bicycle kick. I can't remember who it was against, but it was. I think it was a very good. Like, it shows that the players at Real Madrid, a lot of them do get underrated. I know me and you were talking about earlier, Keylor Navas, who's really one of the main crucial focal points of that team, and it's just that players like Ronaldo, Bale, Benzema, they tend to gather the headlines, but players like Nacho Fernandez, I believe, do deserve a bit more recognition, and they were some of the better players that I thought were playing. Let's go into midfield now. I think we're both playing a 4-2-3-1, aren't we?
Yeah, I have Jeff Hendrick and N'Golo Kante. Jeff Hendrick, I think, got a Premier League move he deserved, but I think maybe he could have gone a bit higher than Burnley. I think just because I think I might be a bit biased here, but I really think he was one of Ireland's better players at the Euros, and maybe a Bournemouth or a Watford could have taken a punt on him.
Speaking of Jeff Hendricks at Bournemouth, he's got that unbelievable volley.
Yeah, against Burnley.
Yeah, so
for Burnley.
For Burnley
Against Watford.
No, it was against Bournemouth.
Oh yes, it was the 3-2 game.
That was an exceptional goal, and it shows its class. Like, obviously, I think
corrected me. You're getting there.
There we
You're
go.
getting
We're
there.
getting
You're
back
getting there. Well done.
All right. Okay. So Kante, I don't think there needs to be much said about him. We've
already talked about him.
He's in my team as well, and then alongside him, I have another Irishman, Harry Archer, who's kind of like, in my opinion, is the Irish N'Golo Kante in some ways. He's just an absolute workhorse. I think, judging by this season, when I've seen Bournemouth play, Jack Wilshere's more that sort of like player at the back who pings the ball to whoever. Let's be fair. No, you have to admit, in some ways, he has been a very good player for Bournemouth as of now. Archer, alongside him, I think is mainly the point that he's been able to, show his ability a bit more, because Archer's more the player, like, he'll get in, he'll do the tackle, he'll run up the pitch, he'll go back. It's just he's the box to box midfielder that Bournemouth have, and Jack Wilshere's kind of really nice alongside him. Going into our three, it's just behind the striker. Who do you have?
I feel like I'm being very biased with my players. I've got a lot of them anyway. I've gone for Sanchez, I've gone for Houlihan, and I've gone for Robbie Brady.
Yeah, we don't need to be like, I don't care if you're biased about it. It's just our favourite players of the year. Like, so obviously Brady and Houlihan, there's no real
Houlihan and Brady, I think I've discussed them enough out of these two ones. And then Alexis Sanchez I discussed in the last episode. Just his work rate is unbelievable. He carries the Arsenal team. I'd love to have 11 Alexis Sanchez's over 11 Ronaldo's. It's just that simple.
Alright. My front three is a bit more, there's no real Irish players in there. It's a bit more, players that there's one in there that you might think, why is he in there? But I'll explain that in a minute. But on the right side of Mahrez, obviously for reasons, yeah. He's an amazing player last season, and also this year he has been showing a bit of surprise in the Champions League. Got 4 goals and 1 assist, which is the highest for Leicester in the Champions League, obviously. But he has also, I think he showed that he's still a really good player. I think in that Man City game, remember you saw his assist to get for Vardy. So the way he plucked it out the air and just played it in perfectly for him shows he's still an amazing player. On the left, I've gone for Marco Reus, a player who's shown loyalty throughout seasons for Dortmund, despite being linked with moves to Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, some of the big superpowers in the world. But he's just so loyal to this club, and it's amazing to know that when a club gives you a chance, that the player's willing to repay that trust. In the cam position, then I've got Isco, which is a player that people are like, why would you pick Isco? Considering he doesn't necessarily get the amount of attention that a lot of players do, the likes of Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, who's just come back now at the moment, trying to be a bit more exciting to watch when people say it. But Isco is an amazing talent. He's unbelievable. He's 23, I believe now. Has been linked with Arsenal for a couple of years, but let's be fair, every attacking midfielder is linked to Arsenal, and they never buy them. But Isco is an amazing player. He's got good skills. He's a great passer of the ball. He's definitely one to look out for. Definitely the future, is not already. And yeah, I think that kind of shows enough. We've gone for the striker. I think we've gone for the same striker. So
I've gone for Jamie Vardy.
Yeah, same. I think it's kind of it speaks for itself. Really, the quality he had last year.
He's been having a party all year. He scored that goal against Wales. He guided Leicester City to the league. He scored that wonder goal against Liverpool, and he scored a hat trick against Manchester City recently.
Yeah, and I think whether you can argue about it or not, he did get 8th place in the Ballon d'Or shortlist. So that's an amazing achievement.
I think he should have got higher, but.
But that's what I mean. A couple of people say he should have gotten lower. Some people say he should have got higher. But he is an amazing thing, and that is for one of an English talent like Vardy. I don't see this. Players who are younger tend to get more of the people are like hyping them up because they're English. Vardy has proven that he's one of England's best players, and yet people kind of throw him.
But Vardy, right, has gone through
the lower leagues.
What I like to call League of Irelandism. League of Irelandism, in my definition, is you're a proper player. None of this floating around like a fairy. He gets in for those hard tackles and never, goes off to China, or it wouldn't go off to a place like maybe China or LA or Orlando. He sticks at it. He works his hardest because he knows this is a massive opportunity for me from where I've come from, and they work so hard. They work so hard every day at the highest level because nothing's been handed to them. Let's take your, I don't know, people that have grown up in academies. These players are more pompish and think that everything should be handed to them, and that's just not the case. You have to work for things in life.
Yeah, that's the thing. In general, that a lot of players who played in the smaller leagues have the more drive for it. I think that's something that guides the Irish team a lot because they have so much passion and they want to win. It's not that they were they were told at a young age, you're amazing, you get all this money. They've been they've had to work hard to get to the place they're at now, and now they just want to keep going for as long as possible. We have the likes of I mentioned earlier Antonio, who started at the lower leagues as well. Obviously an amazing player now. It's one of West Ham's best players this season, and also he should, in my opinion, be getting called up again for the England squad for the World Cup qualifiers. Alright, so that's our team's gone now, and I think we're going to finish off the episode there because we are about 50 minutes in on this, so I'll probably edit out a bit more bits after that. But apart from that, we have gone through a lot of stuff. Leave if you guys want to join down in the comments below, leave down your favourite team players, most hated teams or players, and then maybe leave down your team that you would pick as your favourite players for a team of the year. Mainly, as I said again, not players that we think will get picked, but players that we think deserve some recognition after the good seasons that they've had. On behalf of myself, I want to say Merry Christmas again, and I'm going to leave you guys there.
For myself, guys, I'd like to say a Happy Christmas to you guys all, and I'd just like to pay a most respect for someone dear that we lost this year. Harambe.
I'll talk to you guys later.